tire 1, white flag. I need your very best lap here. Woo! Dude, nobody better. Nobody. Hell yeah, guys. Hey, baby.
And welcome. Another episode of Historic Hot Laps. We've got a lot to talk about today. We wrapped up the NASCAR season for 2024. We know who the champion is, how that all played out, finished up the World of Outlaws. We've got a lot of stuff, so let's just jump right into it. Let's start off with our race recaps. Obviously, we had NASCAR in Phoenix, season finale. You had everything. You had ARCA, Truck Series, Xfinity, Cup, all of it. So let's talk about that. Let's start off with ARCA. Over in ARCA, Connor Zilic shows why he's going straight to Xfinity once again, dominates the field, takes the win, wraps up the 2024 season there. No surprise that he was going to win that race. Kid's unstoppable. Obviously, that's why JRM wants him over there, Junior Motorsports. Moving over to the Truck Series, obviously we knew who our Final Four were going into this. It was looking like the favorite was actually going to be Corey Heim. And coming out of stage one, Corey Heim does get the stage win. Not that it matters. We'll talk about the stages breaking down in all these races, but it really doesn't matter come championship race. It only matters for the guys who aren't in the Final Four. But Corey Heim takes stage one. Going to stage two, Ty Majeski gets the stage win there. Stage three, there's a decent caution. Brings out the red flag with 47 laps to go. Field gets resorted due to the position at the time. Kind of shuffles up our playoff four with all that going down. And champion, at the end of it, Ty Majeski. Led 132 of 150 laps. Basically led everything from stage two forward. So here's what he had to say about the final laps and, how everything went for him.
You know, we really weren't in control of our own destiny at Martinsville. And I had a lot more nerves going into that race than this weekend. Like I said, because, you know, you can only control so much of the race. Some of the 17 put on tires and was coming through the field. I was helpless, right? You're not in control of your own destiny. And tonight, or this weekend for that matter, you know, I knew our truck was really, really good last night. And we knew that, you know, we controlled the outcome. And there's just... I guess a little calmness in that, and I was very relaxed this weekend. Knew we had a great package coming here and a great truck last night, and I was incredibly confident throughout yesterday and throughout today. I knew we were going to be tough to beat. Yeah, it was probably the longest 20 laps of my life. You know, Brandon Lyons was counting each lap down one by one. It's like, man, just skip a couple to make it seem like it's going a little bit quicker. You know, obviously you're waiting for that caution, and you know that's obviously the last thing I wanted to see. We had a great truck on the short run and the long run tonight after the first stage, so obviously the last thing I wanted to see was a yellow.
All right, moving over to Xfinity. Let's talk about practice for a second. Brendan Poole blew an engine, oils the whole track down. You can see it clear as day on the cameras on the broadcast. Justin Allgaier hits the right side of his car real hard, definitely tearing it up, along with Amarola, Jones, a couple other guys get into it. A lot of damage from the oil slick on the track. Allgaier being the Final Four in the championship, he had a lot of pressure on him going into that because he had a good race car. They had been working on it for a while. They knew that was the car to win. He was fast. But here's his comments post-practice, and then we'll get into the race.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's same as everybody else, right? The oil, we all got into it and just went straight. I think that's the frustrating part about this format is, you know, it comes down to one race, one weekend, and we're standing here in this situation. So, you know, obviously the 20's in it with us. It's not ideal for anybody, but at the same time, you know, we brought an incredible brand freshener at Coach Camaro. It was by far the best car I've ever had here at this racetrack. And I think that's the most frustrating part that, you know, what are the 8 of us, 6 of us that all crashed in that situation? 2 Junior Motorsports Camaros. Obviously, I'm emotionally frustrated, but, you know, I don't even know who the cause of the caution was, but it really doesn't matter, right? It's just circumstances that we're all in, and now we got to go build a backup car and get out of this.
All All right, so going into the race, stage 1 win goes to Riley Herbst. Stage 2 win goes to Riley Herbst again. Obviously trying to show that Stewart-Haas, last race for that organization. Obviously we talked about Haas factory team or whatever they're going to call it next year, but this is the end of an era for Stewart-Haas. So Riley Herbst gets stage 1, stage 2. We go into double overtime due to cautions, and Riley Herbst gets the win. Super exciting to see the win for Stewart-Haas in their last Xfinity race as a team. Riley Herbst was just excited as can be about it and all of the post-race stuff. And yeah, Dale Jr. super excited because, so let's talk championship. Championship goes to Justin Allgaier. Xfinity champion Justin Allgaier had that wreck in practice, hitting the oil slick, goes straight to a backup car. They wrap the car through the night with his team. His family's helping out. Everything it takes to get the championship set up for him, right? So he's hardworking. I don't think there's anybody more deserving in the series right now than Justin Allgaier. He's just got that super long extension to stay in Xfinity for JRM, and congrats to them and the team. Here's a little bit of the post-race interview from that, and I wanted to throw some of Dale Jr. stuff in here, but we've got a lot of post-race coverage to do. So his long excitement, he comes into the press room carrying the championship flag and says, "We're going full throttle. I brought the flag and everything," and just pretty awesome to see. Super excited that they get that driver championship. And I believe they also got the manufacturer championship, which came out later, which they didn't even care about at the time. It was all about the driver. It was all about Allgaier getting his. Congrats to Allgaier on that. Congrats to Riley Herbst for the Stewart-Haas win. Really sailing off into the sunset there. But yeah, let's listen to some post-race comments.
No, I was ready to pull down pit road, to be honest with you, and just park the car in the pit stall and get out because if it could go wrong this weekend, it went wrong, and the team just never gave up. And I could tell the disappointment in their voices. They went radio silent for a while, and I could just tell the disappointment in their voices. And it's a hard spot to be in as a driver, right? 6 times before me, I've come in here and I've said we did a great job and we executed the night well, and we built a great race car, and I've walked out of here as second, third, fourth, and not had an opportunity to bring a championship back to the men and women at Junior Motorsports. And this 7 team right now is just different. Jim Pullman and his leadership is amazing, and these 7 guys, they I cannot begin to stress to you how out of the trenches they dig, and tonight's a great example of that. I mean, we walked out of here as champions because of them. The strategy, the race calling, Jim and I laugh because last year everything kind of went the way we wanted it to, and we got here and we ran second, third in the race, second in the points. And this year, everything we've tried to do together that's been kind of bold and outlier or strategy has gone against us. And tonight, that's not the case, right? It's a dumb mistake on my part, followed up by a second dumb mistake, and still to have the wherewithal to get the strategy right, to get us back in it, and to ultimately walk out of here as a champion. I mean, I really wanted to win the race, right? Riley had a really fast race car, but I also, we'd already run into each other like 4 times tonight, so I knew that if I blocked turn 3, I was probably getting wrecked, and that wasn't going to suffice for the team to walk out here with a championship. So, again, I cannot say enough about the team that I have behind me, and the reason why tonight is going to be special for many years to come is because one of the brand employees actually texted me this morning. He said the only way to have a comeback story is to start from behind, and we've done that all weekend. We've done that all year, and this team is really special.
So we know Truck, Xfinity, ARCA. Let's move over to Cup. Cup is where a lot of good stuff happened. Going into it, morning inspections prior to practice and qualifying. Joey Logano's car failed inspection twice before it finally passed the 3rd time. 3rd time's a charm, they say. But this does result in some in-race penalties. They did not get to pick their pit stall, and they also had to remove the car chief from the race weekend team. So obviously, Penske's a huge organization. They can do a lot of stuff, but that still hurts, still kills some momentum. I don't know. There was no specifics as to what didn't pass inspection. It was kind of all hearsay, if it was measurements or whatnot, but I'm not going to speculate on it. We don't know. But either way, we go from there into qualifying. Martin Truex Jr., might I add, his last race of his full-time NASCAR career. I'm sure he'll do some spot races in the next few years, but he's done full-time with Joe Gibbs Racing. He's retiring. quote unquote retiring, I guess. But Martin Truex Jr. takes the pole. So not a better way to go out than leading the field to green for the last time. So that moves us over to the race. The race. Obviously, Jeff Gluck has his poll every week of if this was a good race or not. This is going to be below 50% that say this is a good race. This race was dog. It was terrible. It was terrible. Typical Phoenix race. It's not very exciting. You get a couple little things right off the gate, but just once everything's set in the field, it's pretty boring. So let's talk about it. Joey Logano takes an early lead, holds everybody off for stage 1, gets a stage 1 win. The funniest part of the race, going into stage 2, they ended up having to red flag for a little bit because the pace car made a last-second decision to dive into the pits and hits the impact barrels at the pit wall entrance, much like Larson did last year at, what track was that, Darlington? Or no, I can't remember. But they end up kind of getting turned, hit the side of the pace car into the barrels, have to clean up, redo the barrels so that they're, in place for the race because they're there for a reason. And yeah, they had to clean all that up. It was pretty hilarious to see that. It definitely delayed the race a little bit, which that race needed some excitement, so I guess we got it with that. Going through stage 2, Ryan Blaney's got the momentum and he gets the stage 2 win. Again, like we covered earlier, stage wins don't really matter other than it shows who's in the front at the time for that championship 4. Then we're talking win. Anybody listening to this probably already knows, but if you don't, 2024 champion Joey Logano, 3-time champion now. Ryan Blaney fought him hard for the last 15 laps, but couldn't close the gap. Obviously, they're teammates, so it wasn't going to get ugly. They would have probably done some side rubs, but he wasn't going to dump him in a corner or anything like that. Make the boss mad. The captain over there, Roger Penske. That team's got the playoffs figured out. They know where to focus on their areas. There's a lot of controversy over this because if you look at overall points for the season, Logano is like 16th. He barely made it in on points, and then he got the early wins, kept advancing. But that's what I talk about. He knows the focus areas, right? But I don't know. It rubs a lot of people the wrong way. There's been a lot of debate as if this playoff format should stay. I mean, we talked about it last week, but Kyle Larson had twice as many wins as anybody in the season, and he wasn't even in the Final Four because his last couple of races leading up to the Final Four were not very good. But I guess if you look at it compared to other sports, that's kind of how the playoffs go, right? You've got, if you're the number 1 seed team going into, let's say, the NFL playoffs, right? That doesn't guarantee you a spot in the Super Bowl. And that's been kind of the analogy that's been used for everybody. But regardless, Joey Logano's a champion. He's done it. He's even year champion. So we're going to see a repeat in 2 years. Who knows? It's very possible with that team and that organization. They've got it figured out. I was hoping to see Blaney do something. I was really hoping to see Reddick really just turn the tide and get 23-11 up there during all of this court proceeding stuff and everything else. And we'll talk about some updates of that later. But I was really hoping that, Denny Hamlin would have to meet with NASCAR to get the championship trophy as an owner and everything else. But it didn't work out. You had Reddick end up getting 6th. He just didn't have the speed all day. He stayed top 10, stopped top 5 for a lot, but he just didn't have what it took in those Toyotas. And then Bubba Wallace was right behind him in 7th, which is a great top 10 finish for him, considering Booty and Freddie Kraft weren't at the track for him. Maybe that's a combo that needs to switch up. I don't know. But, yeah. Another mention, congrats to Carson Hocevar winning Rookie of the Year for NASCAR in his first year, so that's exciting. So congrats to him on that one. But, yeah, that wraps up 2024 NASCAR. We are done talking about NASCAR for 90-something more days until we go to the Clash, I believe. And then what do we got? Daytona after that. So we'll ramp it up when the time comes. But, yeah, that's it. It's kind of sad. We're going to go into the off-season now. We've only got a couple racing series left to talk about. We're going to talk about the wrap-up of one more coming up here in just a second.
They're all different in their own ways, but gosh, it's just they're so hard to win, and they're not getting any easier to win. But I'd say we come into the playoffs as the underdog quite often, and we're able to show up under the pressure. And it's got a great team that helps me do that. And it was a close one. It wasn't no easy win by no means, but so neat to be up here. told my wife we got one for each kid now. I got 3 kids, so might need to have another kid.
All right, World of Outlaws, Charlotte Championship Week. Here we go. We kind of knew the points. We covered the points in a previous episode. We knew David Gravel was on fire. Carson Macedo was making up some ground, but had some stuff to do. Tyler Courtney, all these guys stood out in the playoffs, in the championship. So Thursday night feature win goes to King David Gravel himself, 15th victory of the season, top of the points. Great momentum for the final race weekend of the season. Going in and winning the first event is awesome. Going into Friday night, that feature win actually went to Carson Macedo. He made some good passes early on, stuck with it. That comes to a total of 12 victories this season for Carson Macedo, nipping at David Gravel's heels. However, Gravel ended up on the podium. He got 3rd place in Friday night features, which secured him the 2024 championship. So that's awesome to see. Congrats to him on that one. So the weekend's not over. We talked about Thursday. We talked about Friday. Let's talk about Saturday. Saturday night, Tyler Sunshine Courtney himself gets a feature win and $25,000. That's a great way to end the season. Winning the last race, that keeps your momentum through the off season. There's still some local stuff I'm sure they'll participate in here and there in the southern regions. But yeah, that season wrap up is done. We know who the champion is. We know the payouts. We know it all. So congrats to all those guys. Congrats to David Gravel. We talked about before, he was unsure where he's going to end up. Obviously, this championship helps. It would be awesome to see him go to high limit, but we've got a good even split where we've got awesome drivers in both series. So as long as they stay like it is, I think everybody's in for a good show every weekend. So, and that wraps up most of our race stuff this week. We don't have really much more. Like I said, there's some few local things here and there, but yeah, overall, that's about it. Yeah, just sad. The race season's over. So we'll keep going with news and rumors and everything else, and we still plan to have some episodes with other stuff in them. So let's keep that going, and congrats to all the champions this year, and glad that everybody's safe and sound, and let's move on to 2025 with a bang.
So you got a World of Outlaw champion like David behind you. You can't let up for a second. So it's just an awesome way to end our season. We had a really great season. We came up a little bit short in our points championship, but to end the year on a win like this gives us a little bit of momentum going into 2025. And just can't say enough about all my guys, Jake, Ron, Bobby. They bust their tails. We struggled a little bit here the second half of the season, but started to find our footing here again in the last month or so. And to come here, I heard him talking about my debut here with Danny Smith. I think I was racing Jacob Allen for the D main that year, and so 11 years later to come here and get a victory probably took a little too long, but had some non-wing years in there. But thank you to NASCAR Energy Drink, LA's Custom Trailer, Aspire Motorsports. We had Eric here from Stanton Racing Engines here with us this weekend. Garrett from CSI Shocks is here with us this weekend as well, and just a great group that I have around me, and just glad to be a part of it. And like I said earlier, just glad to end our season on a high note and take a little momentum into 2025. I think we proved to to not only ourselves, but I think to a lot of other people too, that we belong on the national tour and that we can compete too. So I haven't won this many outlaw races in a year as I had this year. So to go out and do that is really accomplishing for myself and our team, and just awesome. And congrats to David and the whole Big Game Motorsports team, Todd and Cody and Zach and Steven. I know how hard it is to win championships, let alone a World of Outlaws one. So congrats to him and his whole team growing up racing with David. So it's really cool to see a guy I grew up racing with get a huge milestone accomplishment like that in his career. It was pretty abrasive this weekend. It's just tough. These guys, I don't even know how many total cars here. For the track to keep up as well as they have, it's honestly impressive. And I know it's a little dusty for you fans, but we thank you guys for coming out and sticking out. I think today was the coldest day all week, which isn't bad at all compared to what Charlotte normally can be, and this place is still packed. So thank you guys, and thanks everyone who are watching at home. And can't wait to I guess I don't really have an off season. I'll be racing midgets next week, but take a few months off here with the wing car and build again for 2025.
All right, let's kick off our news segment for this week's episode. Here we are at the end of the seasons. First thing we want to touch on, we lost a legend this last Saturday, November 9th. Bobby Allison passed away at his home peacefully, kind of unexpectedly, but peacefully at the age of 86. Obviously, we just talked about him a couple weeks ago, getting moved up in the overall wins for NASCAR after they honored an old win that we talked about. that was written away for years and years, and they finally gave it to him, putting him at the 4th most wins of all time. Yeah, just a legend. We'll dedicate a lot more time and a full episode to him at some point when the time is right, but just want to pass our condolences to his family, friends, all the fans out there. Very sad day. He's a legend. He'll never be forgotten. Talk some news, miscellaneous news right out of the gate. Just a couple random things. Lamborghini's expected to withdraw from the FIA World Endurance Championship before the 2025 season. This would ultimately mean that they are shutting down their hypercar and LMGT3 programs altogether. What's going to happen with the staff, the shops, everything else in that team? Hard to say at the moment, but that's kind of where we're at. The other thing, Trans Am Series Hall of Fame is set to become official on February 21st, 2025. The inaugural class will be awarded in the Hall of Fame careers at a banquet taking place at Sebring International Raceway, where the Trans Am Series was actually founded about 58 years ago. So that's exciting to hear that. Moving over to Formula One, the Formula One driver group, aka the Grand Prix Drivers Association, has united to oppose the FIA in their policing of past race interview language, which also includes race radio language. They basically came together and said, we're adults, we need to be treated as such. You're not going to tell us what we can and can't say. And basically called out the president of the FIA for his past interviews where he's had language and everything else. So good to see the drivers sticking up for that. It's a little different over there, how things are regulated, but it's not weird to hear a NASCAR interview or something where, there's a lot of bullshits or, F this and F that on the radio. This is America, that's what we're allowed to do. It's a little different when you've got the European nations and everything tied into it, all the money and broadcasting and everything else. So the FIA has been alerted from the Grand Prix Drivers Association to chill out on that. So we'll see what they have in response. Sauber announced that Gabriel Bortoleto will drive for them in Formula One in 2025 and possibly a longer multi-year deal in the works. This comes as has been rumored and now confirmed that Bottas and Guianu are both leaving Sauber at the end of the 2024 season. So what's Sauber's second seat going to be? There is rumor that Theo Pourchaire, who was a good crossover driver in IndyCar this last season, could try to get into this seat. He has ties in the Formula 2 and everything else. So we'll see what plays out with Sauber in their second seat right now. Moving over to IMSA, Sebastian Bourdais announced that he is joining Tower Motorsports for the 2025 IMSA Sports Car Championship. Bourdais will be partnering with John Ferrano, who's the 2022 LMP2 champion, in that number 8 Orca machine. That'll be exciting to see. That's good move for Tower Motorsports. Obviously, we talked about Bourdais being out of his seat with all these teams changing up and CGR their full-time efforts. All right, let's talk about World of Outlaws for a second. We just talked about David Gravel. Wasn't sure where he was going to go. The championship helps. He did announce that he is staying with the World of Outlaws, which is exciting, and he's not going to jump over to the ever so fast growing High Limit Series. I do wonder if he'll participate in the Australia race next season or next month. Yeah, we'll see if he joins them in Australia for that one-off event they're doing there. It might be kind of cool to see. This is the last category we got to talk about today. Let's talk about NASCAR news. Corey Heim will return to Tricon for his third full-time year with them in 2025, basically becoming a unstoppable force in the truck series. Obviously, we thought he was going to win the championship this year. Yeah, overall, good deal for him. Stay in the series, keep things alive. Matt McCall will not return to RFK Racing in 2025 as Brad Keselowski's crew chief. They have had some decent success overall in their program, but this comes as a rumor that he's going to be going to a Chevrolet team, possibly another Spire, strategic hire type deal over there at Spire Motorsports. They've been stacking the deck pretty heavy with talent over there. Obviously got a lot of investment, a lot of money floating around, so we'll see what comes of all of that. Post Martinsville, we talked about the penalties associated for the groups and their race manipulation. Obviously the season's over now, but here's how that kind of fell out. Teams did have a chance to appeal the fines and suspensions. 2311 Racing decided against adding to their drama with NASCAR and declined the appeal and accepted the penalties. The statement they sent out reads as follows. After initial deliberations, 2311 has decided not to appeal NASCAR's decision to penalize the number 23 team. We disagree with that penalty ruling and strongly believe we did not break any rules at Martinsville. It is our conclusion that it is in our best interest and those of our team members, partners, and fans to fully devote our personnel and resources the week towards a championship and not appeals. So a smart move on their part, trying to keep their efforts. Obviously, we know how that all ended up. They had a good top 10 for both cars, but did not walk away with the championship. But smart move. They've got enough going on. They don't need more. Trackhouse did try to appeal, and the appeal was rejected by a panel, and Trackhouse will serve the listed penalties and fines. They responded saying, "We respect the decision and we'll put the matter behind us. We're looking forward to a great championship weekend." RCR was set to throw an appeal out there, but they saw how that went for Trackhouse, and they just decided to back out and revoke their appeal. They accepted, obviously, the fines and suspensions there. The last part of this penalty drama is that the OE manufacturers were not penalized in any way. And when asked about it, NASCAR responded with, "At this point in time, there's no language in the rule book to allow us to penalize our OEMs. We do plan to address this in the off season." So awesome, more rules for NASCAR in this giant encyclopedia of a rule book they've got now, probably with some very vague terms so they can just kind of call stuff as they want. I don't know. The rules in the rule book are getting a little out of hand, in my opinion, but I get they don't want the OEs to control the sport either, so they've got to find a happy middle ground, but just a lot of drama. More NASCAR drama with fines. So we all know last week, presidential election, Ty Majeski was not planning on being in the Championship 4 and having to commit his week to media days. He missed the Championship 4 because he wanted to vote in person in his home state of Wisconsin. NASCAR fined him $12,500 for missing that, which is pretty wild for missing that media day. Go and vote in person. I don't know if that'll stick or not. I guess we'll see, but not a good look for NASCAR once again. More bad press. We'll see how much more bad press they can rack up before the end of 2024. Moving from there, prior to the championship weekend, NASCAR had a State of the Sport conference. Here's a few highlights from that, just covering, thoughts, concerns, growth, things like that. It was about 45, 50 minutes long. We just cut a few snippets here, some highlights.
Is the format, right? And we are always looking, if there are opportunities for us to tweak something, so be it. I mean, we're not the only sport where the best statistical team does not get to the Final Four or the Super Bowl or the World Series. So the format, there was a huge emphasis put 10 years ago when the format was put into place about winning, right? At 3 of the 4 on Sunday, they won to get through. And I go back to the format itself, I think, creates incredible racing. So if we are all going to be honest and say, hey, how's the racing been during the playoffs in these 9 weeks? I don't think it's been ever better. And I think part of that is due to the system itself. They raced their guts out. They did. Tyler Reddick 2 weeks ago, Ryan Blaney last week, Chase Elliott trying to get in, Larson trying to get in, racing their guts out. And I think it provides great racing for our race fans.
So let's go back to what just happened in Martinsville. I would argue before what we saw, one of the best races again I've seen in the playoffs. And it's unbelievable that we're sitting here talking about this topic, right? And I'll probably get in trouble for saying this, but I'll say it anyway. I've been around a long time, but Bill France used to say being pissed off is not a plan. What I saw in Martinsville pissed me off, and it pissed everyone off at NASCAR. Because we all know better, and we know what happened. So we do have rules in the rule book where we can address it, and we did. We had a call with our OEMs where we were very clear in what our intentions are going forward. It is true, Dustin, do we have a rule right now where we could do something? We don't. Will we have a rule next year? 1,000%. And they're aware of that, and they're aware if anything happens this weekend, which it won't, but we will react. And then we have a meeting with our drivers on Saturday. The reason we chose not to penalize the drivers, I'll just address that now because we've seen that a lot as well. We made the decision that the drivers are holding the wheel, but the drivers were told essentially what to do. We gave them the benefit of the doubt. Saturday's message from Elton and John to the drivers will be that that's your warning. We know what happened, and going forward, we'll have to penalize you as well. But what do our words mean? We're not going to let people, drivers, teams, anyone, OEMs, challenge the integrity of the sport.
I guess finally, with the last of the NASCAR drama, 2311 and Front Row Motorsports got their response to their injunction that allowed them to stay on a charter program while court proceedings continued through the next season. This was denied by the judge that was overseeing the case. Jeffrey Kessler, who's the representing attorney for 2311 and Front Row Motorsports, had this to say about it. We are pleased with the court's decision to expedite discovery and fast-track the schedule in our case against NASCAR, although we are disappointed that the preliminary injunction was denied without prejudice and as premature, which we intended to appeal. This denial has no bearing on the merits of our case. My clients will move forward to race in 2025 and continue to fight for a more fair and equitable system in NASCAR that complies with antitrust law. So this is going to be the talk of the offseason. This will give us some stuff to talk about for sure. There's going to be a lot more coming from this, I'm sure. Yeah, I don't know. A lot of drama with this whole thing. But that wraps up news for this week, and we'll see what comes following.
Good afternoon, everybody. Very happy to announce KV Racing Technology is going to have Stefan Wilson as our third entry for the Indianapolis 500. Obviously, this year is an extremely exciting event with the 100th running of the event. And having Stefan join the program, we're very excited. His partners that have joined him as sponsors, it's a very special, a very exciting group, a very good cause. It's something that the whole KV Racing Technology team is very excited to be a part of. We're very excited to be working with Stefan, and we welcome him to the KV Racing Technology family for the month of May.
All right. Moving over to our history portion today, we're going to recap a team that had a long legacy in the Champ Car, IndyCar community. A lot of these guys are still running around the paddock now. That's KV Racing Technology and all the other names they had over the years for it. Let's just start at the beginning. The team was originally formed as PK Racing before the 2003 season by Australian businessman Kevin Colhoven and former Formula One team manager Craig Pollock from the remnants of what was the Pac West team back then. In 2004, this was taken over by Kevin Kalkoven and Jimmy Vasser. Vasser joins as a driver, experience, and co-owner. Team principals for this were Jimmy Vasser and James Sullivan. There's still a Vasser-Sullivan team. If any of you watch sports car racing and stuff like that, you'll see that a lot. They still do dip their toe in IndyCar a little bit for Indy 500 co-sponsored entries once in a while. The team participated in the Champ Car World Series and also the IndyCar Series. KV Racing has also sponsored drivers in the Atlantic Championship, which is kind of a feeder series for Champ Car back in the day. So let's talk about their history in Champ Car, because that's the early days. In its first season, the team fielded one car and employed several drivers, including Patrick Lemaire, Brian Herta, Max Pappas, and Mika Seo. Brian Herta, Max Pappas, still big names in IndyCar. Max Pappas being one of the control guys as far as rules and regulations go. Brian Herta stands on this, calls the shots over there at Andretti Autosport for Kyle Kirkwood. We know Colton Herta, his son, is a successful driver, so very, very well endowed into the sporting world. Brian Herta also owns a Michelin Pilot Series team, Brian Herta Autosport. So very, very experienced guys, but driving for them in the early days of their career. For 2004, the team was significantly revamped. It was renamed to PKV Racing, and that's when Dan Petit and Jimmy Vasser replaced Pollock as co-owner, and so short-lived for him. Vasser kind of taking over more and more as time went on. The team also expanded up to two cars from one, for Vasser to drive one and rookie Roberto Gonzalez to drive the other. Vasser had the team's best finish of the year and a second podium with second place in Toronto, but the season otherwise was kind of mid-grade to bottom end. Not a whole lot of success in that 2004 season. In 2005, PKV replaced Gonzalez with another champion in Cristiano D'Amata. This ended up getting their first win of the Portland Raceway. This ended up getting them their first win in Portland. So we're talking 3 years in and they get their first win. Not bad for a Champ Car team. D'Amata finished 11th in the championship, while Vasser had 2 third-place finishes and was 6th overall in the championship, which is kind of how Vasser's career went. He was a very good top 5 guy. Yeah, we'll cover him later in other episodes, but D'Amata brings some success to the program. For 2006, the team fielded full season entries for Oriol Servia and then rookie Catherine Legge. We still talk about both of those drivers. Hoping Legge will be in IndyCar again, at least on the oval program for Dale Coyne this next year. But yeah, Oriol Servia and rookie Catherine Legge, 2006. Vassar retired from racing after his third place finish. Vassar retired from racing after driving a third car at Long Beach. Servia scored a third place at Cleveland that year, finished 11th in the championship. Legge struggled being a rookie in the season or in the series and finished 16th overall in the championship. 2007 lineup was Neil Johnny and Tristan Gometti. Mario Dominguez subbed for Gometti at Edmonton, and Oriol Servia replaced Gometti for the final two races due to sponsorship issues. So this is what you see a lot in these lower level, entry level teams. A lot of sponsorship issues, driver replacements. We've seen it today's day and age too. The team's best results of the year were a pair of second place finishes at Toronto and San Jose from Neil Johnny. And that brings us into the combination year. It's no longer split series era. We're talking IndyCar now. We'll cover that's a good winter episode. Maybe we'll do that. We'll cover the whole split between IndyCar and Champ Car for those off-season years. So here's our IndyCar history. Switched to the IndyCar series following the unification of the American Open Wheel Racing in 2008. Dan Petit ceased his ownership role in the program. The team changed its name to what it was known best as KV Racing Technology. Businessman from Australia, Craig Gore and John Fish, brought their Team Australia branding from Walker Racing along with driver Will Power, partner of Oriol Servia. Power won the Champ Car finale, the 2008 Toyota Grand Prix of Long Beach, which was counted towards the IndyCar championship due to the combining of that year. Vassar also competed in that race, which that was his actual last race as a driver. In 2008 Indy 500, the first for the team and both drivers, Power qualified 23rd and finished 13th, and Servia qualified 25th and finished 11th. So they made some good moves, made some good strategy calls. Obviously, they had a good handle of what was going on in the garage there. In 2009, the team ran full-time program with Brazilian Mario Moraes. Paul Tracy also made 5 starts for the team, the Indy 500, Watkins Glen, Edmonton, Toronto, and Mid-Ohio. So filling in as a sub there with Paul Tracy, the legend. Townsend Bell drove a third car for the team at the Indy 500 in 2009. And then in 2010, the team ran full-time programs for Takuma Sato, EJ Vizo, and Mario Moraes, plus part-time program for Paul Tracy. And James Rossier actually tested for the team at Barber that year. For 2011, Sato and Vizo returned to the team, as well as gaining technical support from Lotus, rebranding the team to KV Racing Technology with Lotus, so KVRT Lotus. The team, this is where it gets complicated. The team added Tony Kanaan in a third car, which was the number 82 as a tribute to Jim Clark, the late Formula One great and Indy 500 champion. In 2011 at the Indy 500, Sato and Vizo were the first 2 cars retired from the race due to separate incidents, so more bad luck for them. In 2012, Sato would leave KV Racing for RLL. Replacing him would be Formula One driver Ruben Barrichello. The team also announced that it would be partnering with Chevrolet. And although he did not get any wins up to this point, Kanaan would finish 9th that season in the points, with the best finish second at Milwaukee. Vizo and Barrichello would struggle that year as well, both drivers leaving the team at the end of the year in 2012. On October 30th, 2012, Simona Di Silvestro joined KV for the 2013 IndyCar Series season. Kanaan's win in the 2013 Indy 500 was the first for KV, while Di Silvestro scored her first podium at Houston. Kanaan departed KV to drive for Chip Ganassi Racing in 2014, while Di Silvestro also departed the team at the season's end. They were replaced by Dragon Racing teammates Sebastian Bourdais and Sebastian Saavedra in 2014. 2014, the team had some moderate success coming off of a 2013 Indy 500 win. You would expect some of that. Saavedra would claim the first pole for the team at the Grand Prix of Indy, and Bourdais would take his first IndyCar win at the Honda Indy of Toronto race. Bourdais finished 10th in his standings. Lack results saw Saavedra's release from the team. His replacement for 2015 would be Stefano Coletti, who's a Formula GP2 driver. Coletti didn't adapt to IndyCar very well. Best finish was 8th at the 2015 Grand Prix of Indy. Bourdais would take 2nd at the Chevy Duel in Detroit. KV would release Coletti at the end of the season and reduce to only a Sebastian Bourdais entry for 2016. So you can see the trend coming here. Things are things are slipping a little bit, falling apart for the team. Great success in 2013, and that was about it, right? So the team would win again in Detroit in 2016, but despite that, we lost a lot of funding there. Cal Coven wanted to sell the team equipment. Bourdais departed KV Racing for Dale Coyne, and without proper funding, Coven and Vassar had to sell the team. They attempted to sell the team to Indy Lights, Trevor Carlin over there in Indy Lights, but that deal fell through. On February 16th, 2017, Vassar and Cal Coven released statements confirming that the end of KV Racing technology and the sale of equipment and technical data to Juncos Racing, which we see Juncos Hollinger now. So and that's another team that struggles with sponsorship. So there's something going on here. In February 2018, Jimmy Vassar and James Sullivan formed a partnership with Dale Coyne to field Sebastian Bourdais in the 2018 IndyCar Series. Dale Coyne Racing with Vassar Sullivan. That was all you heard from the end of the KV Racing days. They did have a lot of good drivers through the years, even though their success was moderate or less than moderate. Let's go through it from their timeline of drivers. You had Patrick Lemaire, Mika Seo, Max Pappas, Brian Herta, Jimmy Vassar obviously filling in randomly, Roberto Gonzalez, Cristiano D'Amata, Jorge Gutierrez, Catherine Legg, Oriol Servia, Neil Johnny, Tristan Gometti, Will Power, Townsend Bell as a fill-in, Mario Morez, Paul Tracy, like we talked about, part-time fill-in, Takuma Sato, EJ Vizo, Tony Kanaan, the legend, Rubens Barrichello, Simona Di Silvestro, Sebastian Savitra, Sebastian Bourdais, Stefano Coletti, Brian Clausen, and actually had Stephen Wilson there towards the end as well. So with no success, we didn't talk about that. But that is KV Racing technology in a nutshell, and all the stuff they went through over the years. So, and that wraps us up for this week. Appreciate, as always, like, follow, subscribe. We're available on all platforms for your podcasting needs. Free, obviously, no charge. And follow us on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, at Historic Hot Laps. Hit us up at our Gmail account, historichotlaps@gmail.com. Tell a friend. Let's just keep the momentum going. We've got a lot of stuff coming up in the off season. A lot more history we'll talk about. And then we'll keep everybody up to date on news and everything else that's going on, news and rumors. So hope everyone has a great week and stay safe. And thanks for tuning in.
Hello everyone, I am Takuma Sato from KV Racing Technology. That I'm really looking forward to go to the big challenge in the IndyCar Racing Series in 2010. To me, everything is new, but step by step, I'd like to go with the team and try to get the biggest challenge of what I ever done. So I think it's going to be a good season. I hope will be. Hopefully, we are very competitive. And certainly very looking forward to see you all in the States. So see you soon then.
Thank you for sharing your time with us. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure to subscribe and leave us a review wherever you listen to your podcasts. Don't forget to follow us at Historic Hot Laps on X and all your other social platforms for the latest updates and sneak peeks into upcoming episodes. You can reach out to us directly at historichotlaps@gmail.com. Send us your feedback, questions, comments, opinions, and additional subject matter you'd like us to cover. Thanks for tuning in.